Oh, all right, everybody. Thanks for joining. I'm excited about today's webinar. This is being recorded, so you'll be able, if you miss anything, if you have to leave early or anything like that, you'll be able to go on our social medias and see the webinar, as well as I believe there's a transcript of it as well. But if you have any questions, please make sure you put them in the chat, and we'll get to those at the end of the session. I tend to speak a little fast, so if I'm going too fast, please let me know and I'll slow down. Other than that, we're going to dive right in because I want to respect everyone's time. I appreciate you guys all coming. As writers, we're all going to come up against some type of creative stall or block in our work. And it's really important to understand how to overcome that, how to work through it. So that's really what this webinar is about. I am Melissa Butler. I am a screenwriter, consultant, and producer, and I've been working primarily on the independent side, working with producers to write, consulting with screenwriters to get their projects up to production ready and help them get agents and managers, as well as producing independent content. And I'm really excited to be working with WO Accelerator because we are essentially taking out the middleman and connecting screenwriters with producers. So independent writers or new writers or people who have been writing for any length of time that have just come up against the wall and not been able to get staff, to get agents or managers, or get anything produced, but just being able to get them in front of producers so they can get their stuff optioned and sold. And so what we do is we connect people and we help you get your projects up to the level where they can be bought and sold. But enough of WO Accelerator. Gonna dive into what we're talking about today, which is overcoming writer's block. We're gonna really define what writer's block is because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it. We're gonna talk about some practical tips to work through writer's block and how to overcome it. We're going to talk about the mindset that a working writer needs to have. Then we're going to talk a little bit about WO Accelerator, and we're going to have a Q&A. So, writer's block. As I said before, if you've been writing for any length of time, you're going to come up against writer's block, and it's going to look different for everybody. Some people are just not going to be able to produce as many pages as they once were. Some people are not going to be able to write at all. And there's a middle ground to that. So writer's block will not look the same for you as it does for other people, and that's okay. You have to discover who you are as a writer and what writer's block looks for you, but writer's block may not always look the same for you as well. So writer's block is just when you are not able to produce on the level that you once were, or you have some type of creative stall. We all talk about sitting in front of our computer and staring at that blank page, how difficult it is to start something. But writer's block goes a little bit further, and you feel like anything that you create or you put down on that page just isn't as good, or you have extreme difficulty in getting anything out. This has nothing to do with commitment problems or lack of writing. And a lot of writers feel like when they go through a creative stall that they're just not a good writer, and that could not be further from the truth. So what are some of the causes and the roadblocks of that cause writer's block? It can be a lot of different things, and we're going to touch on some of those today. Sometimes it's just because we're not clear about the story that we want to tell. Development is a really important part of creating your story. And whether you're new or you've been writing for years, like I have, sometimes the story that you're trying to write, you're just not clear about where it needs to go. And that can be a cause of writer's block. Sometimes it's just because you haven't discovered what kind of writer you are. A lot of agents, managers, and people in the industry talk about, you know, discovering who you are as a writer and what type of projects you like to write. I know early on in my career, I thought I could write anything, and I tried to write anything, but the things that I was not passionate about, I struggled finishing those scripts. Eventually I did, but it was like pulling teeth to write things that I just was not passionate about. And it could just be that whatever project you're working on, you're not passionate about it. Another cause is just a lack of creative inspiration. In order to be creative, you have to set yourself up for it. A lot of times we like to think that, you know, the muses will speak to us, and that gives us the inspiration to write and come up with something that's really good. But really, creative inspiration comes from setting yourself up for that. And that also comes from discovering what kind of writer you are. For me, I know that when I listen to certain types of music, that I'm going to be more creative. So I set music on when I'm about to write. I know that when I go for long walks in nature, that I'm just naturally more inspired. So you have to figure out what inspires you and put those things around you in order to make yourself more creative. Another cause is just life changes. Life is difficult for all of us in different ways, but getting married, losing someone in your life, moving, having a new pet in your home. These are all life changes. Some are big, some are small, but these impact your life. They impact how creative you can be because you're trying to fit these new things into your life. So don't discount what is going on in your life as a whole to how much of an impact that it can have on your writing. And when we go through these life changes, we sometimes have to set up our life in a different way so it's more conducive for us to write. Another thing that most writers go through, unfortunately, is burnout, especially if you're working a full-time job and you're also trying to be creative on the side after hours. It's really easy to burn yourself out. So self-care is a big thing to make sure you don't get burnt out. Setting goals. If you have a if you have a full-time job and you want to finish a feature script, it may not be the best thing to try and write 10 pages a night after working 8 hours. So I have a really good friend that his goal is to write a page a day. And a lot of times he can get more than a page a day done, but that's a really realistic goal considering the amount of hours that he works during the week. So you have to make sure that you are not burning yourself out. And sometimes it doesn't feel like we're burning ourselves out because we enjoy writing. Anything that you love to do, you want to do more and more, but you have to be careful that the love of that thing does not burn you out. And one of the even bigger causes that most people do not talk about or really think about, the deeper causes of writer's block, typically are mental health issues, which kind of goes back to burnout. Sometimes there are things going on in our lives that we either haven't dealt with. We have anxiety. I know coming out of the pandemic, a lot more people have anxiety than ever before, or a lot more people are discovering that they've always had anxiety. They just never had were still enough to realize that that's what was going on in their lives. So these deeper causes that result in writer's block are something that you really need to take the time and look at, and if necessary, bring people in like therapists or counselors to talk about and work through. So causes and roadblocks are similar but different. So roadblocks are anything that are keeping you from writing. So maybe you're not set up to write. A lot of people go to cafes to write. Some people write in their offices, but you need a set place that is conducive to creativity. So if you love nature, maybe what you do is you go to a park and you write. Um, you also need to make sure you're setting aside the time to write. And you, even though we have goals about how much we want to do a day, don't make yourself stick to it if it's not conducive. So for instance, my life has been extremely busy lately. I've had a lot of things going on with my family. I like to write every day, but this week that just has not been something that I've been able to do. And typically when we have these goals and these times set aside for us writing, but life gets in the way, we tend to berate ourselves or be self-deprecating as writers. And one of the things that is probably the quickest way to start up writer's block is to put yourself down when things are going on. You have to give yourself patience. So don't push yourself too hard, but also make sure that, you know, you're setting yourself up to have a productive writing session. One of the things that I also find that a lot of writers go through is um, what they believe about their writing and what they believe about themselves as a writer. If you are writing consistently, you are a writer. You're not any better or worse than any other writer. You're a writer. So, but do you actually believe that? When people ask you what you do, is this what you say? Um, the way we look at ourselves and our writing is a big, or can be a huge roadblock to us writing. If you believe that, you know, writing is just a hobby, then writing is just going to be a hobby. If you want writing to be something more than that, if you want writing to be your career, you have to look at it as a career. When you reread your scripts, do you think, oh, this isn't as good as something someone else wrote? These are our thoughts that can really stop us from writing. Every writer looks at their first draft in a very similar way because all first drafts are are typically not good. So you have to have realistic expectations about who you are as a writer and your writing in of itself. And joining writers groups and connecting with other writers and going to webinars like this give you confidence, but they also help improve your writing. So as a writer, you want to always improve, but you should never look down on the pages that you created, because for every page you created, there's someone who is still just dreaming about writing. The fact that you are writing makes you a writer. The next roadblock is, are you unsure this script is what you should be writing? We kind of touched on this earlier, but sometimes we're just not feeling a script, or we'll start something and we're really excited about it, and as we're going through, we're just not as excited about it anymore, or that idea, we've seen it somewhere else, we've heard it somewhere else, and our passion for it starts to die down. And this could be something deeper. It could be you just realizing that this script that you started, you intended it for it to be a feature, and that is not what it is anymore. I do that a lot. I will come up with an idea and I'm like, okay, this is a feature, this is a limited series, this is an animated show. And then as I'm developing or writing it, I'm like, okay, what I thought this was, it is not. It's something completely different. And that's okay. It happens a lot. And as writers, we need to just be a little bit nicer to ourselves when we're going through this process. And if you get halfway through a script and you're like, I don't really want to write this anymore, that's okay too. I have plenty of scripts that I haven't finished. I have plenty of scripts that I have finished. But when you stop writing something, it's not, you should not look bad at yourself because you didn't finish it, because now you have the creativity and the freedom to work on another project that you're more passionate about. So just keep those things in mind. Practical tips for writers. We've all heard about taking breaks, writing exercises, having a community. These are all really important things that we need to think about when we're writing. This list will get you through a creative stall. You don't have to sit down until the pages that you wanted to write in a day are done. One of the really great methods that I use is I'll write for 5 minutes and then I'll get up and I'll take a break. I'll go for a walk, I'll grab a snack. Because like I said, creativity is something you set yourself up for. It doesn't come automatically. During these breaks, sometimes I think about the script that I'm writing, sometimes I don't. It really depends on how difficult whatever scene or act that I'm writing is. And sometimes when you're writing really emotional things, you need to take that mental break in order to continue writing it. Recharging your creative battery. This goes back to having hobbies and doing things outside of writing. I am a huge K-pop fan, so for me, recharging my creative battery involves listening to K-pop music and watching music videos. For some people, it's gonna be going to a museum or going on a walk or going on a hike. This can be anything, but it should be something that has nothing to do with writing that you do on a regular basis. This goes back to self-care. We really have to take care of ourselves mentally and physically as writers in order to be creative. If you do not do this, then you will have not only writer's block, but you will burn yourself out. Then writing exercises. Writing exercises are awesome. They're amazing. But my favorite writing exercise that I don't see a lot of people talk about is just sitting in front of your computer and just writing. Whether it's a diary, you going through your day, just writing anything and everything that you can think about. But it has nothing to do with your script. Because a lot of times, as I said before, that blank page can just be so intimidating. Even when we know our story, we know our characters, we know what we want to put on the page, it's just really hard to start sometimes. So just the act of writing makes it easier to put those words on the page. And one of the other things that I love doing, because I hate that blank page, is I take my outline and I copy it and I put it in final draft. So now my page is not blank. And so mentally, I have things on the page and I can go from there. But also, a really great thing about that is it keeps you on track with what you're writing. So it doesn't matter what writing exercise you do. You don't have to do them every day or every time you start writing. But if you feel like you're drudging through trying to get a page done, writing exercises can help you get through the anxiety of having to get words on the page. My favorite thing to do is engage with my writing community. I'm a part of several writing groups, but I do have my favorite. We meet twice a week and we share scripts. We talk about writing. We talk about the industry. This one thing has changed my writing life. I was productive before, but just being a part of writing groups has helped me become a better writer. But also when I'm going through writer's block, I have other writers to talk to. And they help me understand, help me see that, you know, okay, you're going through this right now. That's okay. You'll be able to write again. Or have you thought about this for your script? And they just give you a lot of advice or things to think about that will help you break through or continue to write through a writer's block. So a lot of times, if you have a particular goal or you have a client or something like that, and you have to continue writing, a writing community such as a writing group is going to be the biggest and best thing that you can do in order to continue to write when you're suffering from writer's block. Because that community can help you not only get through it, but they can help you get your pages done. And then the last thing in this section that I wanted to talk about is time. Sometimes we just need to take a break. I know that's not a popular thing amongst writers because we feel like we have to get it done. But sometimes you do just need time. Whether this is a week or a month or something longer, sometimes walking away from a project not only gives you perspective, but helps you see or figure out a way to better take care of yourself so that you can be the most productive writer that you can be. And when you're taking time away from your script, away from your projects, the best thing you can do is actually just not write at all, which sounds a little weird, but sometimes you just need that mental break in order to get through, to make sure that when you come back writing that you're refreshed, you're recharged, and you're able to produce. Okay, we've kind of talked about mindset a little bit, but there are some things that I kind of wanted to go a little bit deeper into. And we touched on this first thing. Do you consider yourself a writer? And as I said before, if you are writing on a consistent basis, you are a writer. You don't have to sell anything, option anything, be staffed, have anything produced. If you're writing consistently, you are a writer. And this is one of the biggest things that will help you overcome writer's block, is just how you look at yourself and your writing. Are you setting yourself up to be successful? This goes back to goals. So, what are your goals as a writer? Not everyone wants to have an agent or a manager, but maybe you do. Are you doing the things, and have you set a goal and a timetable that will get you an agent or manager, or get you optioned or sold, or get you staffed or produced? All of those things um, look a little bit differently. So, do you know what you need in order to get an agent or a manager, or to get something produced? So, whatever your goal is, you really need to break it down and think about the things that you need to do. And I know that this isn't necessarily anything about writing, but when you know what kind of writer you want to be, what you ultimately want to happen with any of your scripts, you have a direction. You know the types of scripts that you need to be writing. So if you want to be staffed on a TV show, then you need to be writing pilots. You need to be coming up with outlines for shows. If you want to be produced, and you have a couple of feature films, like, are those films that can actually be produced on a smaller budget? So knowing what you need to have as far as your writing and other things that you need to do to prepare yourself is setting yourself up to be successful, whatever that looks like to you, because that's going to be something different for everybody. So, what goals are you trying to attain? We talked about this, but this isn't just with your writing. Ultimately, what goals do you want for your life? And how does writing fit into this? Writing should not be the only goal you have in your life. It should be one of the goals. And how do you incorporate this goal in your life? So for me, one of my big goals this year is going to Korea. So how does my writing fit into that goal? I don't want to be so consumed with my writing that I don't live. And I don't want to live or do so many things that I don't have time for my writing. So you really need to understand the goals in your life that you're trying to attain and create some type of balance. A lot of writers are either sacrificing their life to write, or the opposite. And there should be a balance here. And I think that is one of the biggest causes, the biggest roadblocks in people's lives when it comes to writer's block, is that you don't have balance in your life. One thing in your life is overtaking everything else. The more balance you have in your life, the easier it is to get through a bout of writer's block. And then next, what is your self-care routine? Self-care is extremely important, and it's a little different than, hobbies and things like that. Like, that can be part of self-care, but what do you do to relax? Do you take a bath? Do you read a book? Do you watch a movie? What is the one thing that you do for yourself that has nothing to do with writing, that has nothing to do with anyone else? This is how you're going to make sure your creative battery is full, by taking time for yourself and resting. If you do not take the time for yourself and rest, then it is going to be extremely hard to attain any goals in your life, to create balance in your life, to create that masterpiece that you have inside of you. We all have a masterpiece inside of us, whether it's a book, a TV show, a movie, a short film. We all have a piece of writing inside of us that the world needs, that we have a burning urge to create. And in order to create that, we have to first take care of ourselves. Let's stop for just a second before we go any further. Did anybody have any questions as I went through that? And you can put it in the chat or chime in. You can unmute your mics.
Hi, Melissa.
Yes. Hi, Michelle.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You know what's really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing and giving these great tips. I am in my late 50s and have just by trade am a teacher, but I've always loved and wanted to dabble in writing, and so I really enjoy the element of self-care and self-focus, and just touching a little bit on starting later in life. Could you offer some tips for motivation and for overcoming that fear and hesitancy and self-doubt?
Yeah, I think that's something that all human beings, but especially artists, go through.
Yeah, thank you.
We all have some form of self-doubt. I did not take writing seriously until I was in my 30s. I've been writing since I was a kid, but I didn't take it seriously until I was in my 30s. And I really felt like, oh, this is too late. But as I started meeting other writers, I realized that the most successful writers who I looked up to were a lot older than me when they started, and were seeing more success as they were older. And that's because you've lived more of life. It's easier in some regards for you to get words on a page because you've lived life. You've seen things that necessarily younger people aren't going to see the same way. And it's never too late to start. It's never too early to start. The most important thing about it is just starting and realizing that at some point everybody had to start. You, at an older age, have more wisdom to give than you even realize. And so just realizing that and just sitting in front of your computer or your notebook and writing is going to be the best thing you can do. And we're going to talk about it a little bit later. I would suggest everyone join our Discord and just start conversations and build your own writing community and build several writing communities. Like I said before, I am in several writing groups. They all serve a different function in my life. When I'm going through things and having writer's block, I'm in one writer's group. When I really want somebody to go over a script that I'm writing, I go to another writer's group. So just build your writing community and lean on them for the things in your life that you don't know about, especially when you're first starting out. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, you guys. Casey has dropped the Discord into the chat. So please, like I said, join that, become a part of our writing community, as well as go on our social medias, because I see a couple of people are on their phone, and the information about the Discord will be on there as well. So I kind of ran through that a little fast. We're going to have an official Q&A at the end, but was there anything that I was going over that you did not understand? If not, you can just chime in and I'll answer that question. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. So, WO market. I talked a little bit about what we do at WO Accelerator, and how we are taking out the middleman. We're giving screenwriters the ability to get their scripts in front of producers to not only sell, but to option. There are a lot of screenwriters who just option work. It's always better in a way to get your stuff produced, because it gives you more opportunities. But I know some screenwriters who just live off of getting their work optioned. So that is one of the biggest things we do at WO Accelerator, and that's what the WO marketplace is all about. So the process is, once you join WO Accelerator, your script is evaluated, and what makes our evaluations a little bit different is you really get real feedback and understand why you got the score that you got. We'll also suggest, based on your score, what, if any, areas that you need to work on to upskill your writing. I believe I've been writing, like I said, since I was a kid, but professionally for about 8-9 years. I still go to classes, webinars, because you can always make your writing better. And because of the new kinds of media, things are always changing. So I love the fact that we tell you guys where you can upskill yourself to make your script most desirable to producers. So you guys will be able to collect your payments once a script is optioned or bought, in a really seamless process. And even for people who are not tech savvy like me, it's really easy and everything is spelled out. And once something is optioned and bought, it is a really seamless process. You get access to our Discord community and different promos and content that we release throughout the year. And then we have a really good support team. And one of the things that I really love about WO Accelerator is I myself am a screenwriter. Our team is full of creatives who understand the creative process. And we really just want to help screenwriters and producers get connected so your dreams can come true. I know that sounded cheesy, but as a writer, that is your dream, to get something not only option bought but also produced. And this, I know there are other companies that do that, but those other companies don't necessarily have screenwriters and other artists in the industry behind that who understand what it's like to write. It's a difficult process. So the Q&A, we are officially here. Does anybody have any burning questions about writer's block? I know you guys have questions. I go to webinars all the time and I have questions, but I just don't ask them. Who's going to be brave and ask a question?
Come on, guys. We also see that some of you joined the Discord, which is awesome.
Wonderful, wonderful. Just a note about the Discord. Myself and Casey are in the Discord weekly, if not daily. So like, if you're too shy to ask a question here, please do ask it in the Discord. One of the things that is so great and key about webinars, and even the Discord, is if you have a question, I guarantee you there's at least another person who has that same question. As my kindergarten teacher always said, there's no such thing as a stupid question. If you don't know the answer to it, it's not stupid, it is not silly, it's just a question. And I love answering questions. Going once, going twice.
I have a question. How do you deal with the emotional aspect of writing? Sometimes trying to be creative, you know, you can revisit certain traumas. How do you deal with that?
I am so glad you asked that question. So, that's tough. It's tough. There are two things that you can do. One is if there are things that you know are going to be triggering to you, that you are going to have a difficult time writing, you can either just not write it. You can find a writing partner to assist you with that. I've done that in the past. Or you can use this as an opportunity for therapy. This is not going to be for everybody, though. I several years ago wrote a script that was loosely based on my childhood. I was really sick growing up. I lived in the hospital. I almost died several times. I went through a lot. And writing that script was challenging, but it was also cathartic. Like Donnie just said. So you can use it as therapy, but if you are finding that this is just something you can't write, I would suggest that you find a writing partner, but you're still going to have to go over it in your script. Depending on how emotional it is for you, you might want to speak to someone about that, like a counselor or a therapist or something like that. What I tend to do, and again, this isn't going to be for everybody, this goes back to discovering what kind of writer you are, and what you need to be the most creative and get through things. For me, when I know that I'm going to have to write something that's really emotional, I make sure that whenever I'm writing that scene, that's one of the first things that I do. So the rest of the day can be the fun stuff. Or I make myself a playlist and I listen to that uplifting music, that happy music while I'm writing. So I can in some way disconnect myself from it, because I know a lot of writers, myself included, when we're writing, we're in it with our character. We're feeling everything that they are. And while that makes for really good writing, it's not always great emotionally. It can break you down emotionally, and it can also cause writer's block and a lot of other things. So you have to put things in place that lift you and separate you from this. Casey, do you want to chime in? Because I know we had this.
Yes, I did, because we have definitely talked about this before. Also, Melissa, if you want to turn your video on just to say hi so everyone knows,
Oh,
knows what you look like. You were on a roll, so I just thought for the Q&A, just so everyone knows, because we'll be doing more events, just so you get to know who we are. Yeah, so my background actually is in acting and performing, and I relate a lot to this. Melissa and I were just discussing our own personal projects this last week, and one of them that I'm working on, I've had to have some distance from because it is very emotionally charged when I work on it. Now, a tool that I have picked up from performing, because oftentimes I perform roles that were very intense or required anger or emotions that I don't normally comfortably access. One thing that Melissa said that I think is really important is about finding a way to disconnect. You, much like a scene, you know, when you're done with a scene, it's done. When you're done with an act, it's done. You need to find a way to safely unplug from that emotion. I'm not saying that you should avoid the hard parts of the emotions like you were talking about, because it can be very emotional, but you want to make sure that you have something in place. Like Melissa said, a playlist. For me, I have to do something physical. So if I'm done writing, or I'm writing something emotional, I can get kind of in my head. That means I need to go outside for a walk, or I need to do some yoga, or when it comes to performing, literally just finding a way to shake it off. Okay. Another idea that I have about this, because sometimes I've written scripts in the past where the character I was identifying with it too much, that I had to make sure that when I was writing, I'm saying this is the character's experience. So there can be a mistake a lot of times with, you know, the creative arts, where it's this idea that you have to leave everything on the page, or leave all the blood, you know, pour your bloody guts out everywhere. And I will say that I actually disagree with that. I think that you want to make sure the most important thing is that you're safe and that you feel good, and go as far as you can with the emotional scripts, and then back away. Go as far as you can one day, and then back away. You want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and that you keep something for yourself in the script. You don't have to let it all out, because ultimately at the end of the day, we're evoking emotion from the person who is reading the script, or watching the film once it's created, right? I used to have a teacher that said, it doesn't matter what you're thinking about on stage or on screen. You could be thinking about pizza, or you could be thinking about, you know, the stock market. As long as you are able to elicit emotion and understanding from the viewer, that's the most important thing. So I think we both agree taking care of yourself is the #1 priority in all of this.
Thank you.
You're so
Yeah,
very welcome.
that was on point. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I just wanted to chime in more about the self-care, because we don't talk about that enough. And as a creative, you are only as creative as much as you take care of yourself. So if you want to be able to produce, you want to work through writer's block, get over writer's block, you have to first take care of yourself. If you're not going to take care of yourself, doesn't mean that you can't create some beautiful art, but you're going to damage yourself in the process. And that is no way to create and live. So just want to say that real quick. So guys,
when it comes to self-care, do you guys have anything that you go to? I know we were starting to address that in the chat, but you can raise your hand, or you can just blurt it out. Is there something that you guys have in place already?
I travel.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Meditation, yes.
Wonderful.
Oh, sound baths. That's awesome.
Oh, I love baths. They're great.
Yeah.
There was a commercial years and years ago called Calgon, Take Me Away. And as a child, I connected with that, because like I said, I was in the hospital most of my childhood. And so coming home and taking a bath was the thing that I did to wash the mental and physical strain of of that away. So whatever you use to take yourself away, make sure you just have
Here's
it.
my gong. We're talking about sound baths. Have it right here.
Yeah. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Storyboard with stick figures.
Oh my God, that's such a good idea.
I feel like
I've
I'm
always
that now.
I've always been intimidated to do storyboarding, but when you're like, no, I do it with stick figures, that takes away the pressure. I like that.
I definitely doodle when I'm doing almost everything. It is a great way to, especially if you're in the middle of something uncomfortable, doodling is a great way to disconnect yourself. Especially your
Oh,
wonderful.
yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh.
All right, guys.
Cool.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Anything else that you guys wanted to touch on while we're here? Last couple minutes. And just so you know, Melissa was starting to talk about WO Market. If anybody has any questions about that, feel free to ask. We really did design WO Market to be a place where the red tape is gone, where we put screenwriters first, and you have the opportunity, like Melissa said, if you write, you're a writer. So you might as well be making money from it, A lot of times I fear that writers are told, okay, you have to go on this trajectory or this one, it only works if you do XYZ. And optioning scripts can be such a wonderful opportunity to have producers look at your work. You never know, what a production company is up to, what they're planning on. And this allows you to get paid while you're writing. That's, to us, the biggest shift in the market is, the world, we are connected globally through the internet. Anything is possible now. And I think it's a really wonderful opportunity. You submit your script, it gets analyzed, you get feedback, and if it makes it to the marketplace, then you are that much closer to knowing. At the end of the day, you can say, my script's on the marketplace, it has the opportunity to be optioned, and now I can just keep writing. Because it really does help when, you are being rewarded for your efforts and not just, we get it. We get that it can be a lonely process. We're all meeting here now, but at the end of the day, you're going to be writing in your room or in a cafe or wherever, and you're on your own. And it's important to check in with people. And oh yeah, I see we have all the links up here. So, feel free to join, feel free to offer suggestions, feedback, what you guys want to see in the future. Because we really, this is a passion project for us, and we really believe in it, and we want you guys to succeed. We want to succeed too, but we want you to succeed. So yeah, thanks for being here with us.
As much time as we put into our writing, as difficult as it can be, like Casey said, it is great to get paid for it. So yeah, that's one of the things I love about WO Market. It gets you that step closer without all the red tape, because there's a lot of red tape in Hollywood for no reason. So if you guys have any other questions, let us know, because we are tiptoeing to the end of this session. I'm glad that you guys joined today. This is a webinar that I really want to do for a long time, because I've gone through writer's block real hard, and I thought that I was alone in that until I joined my first writers group, and they were like, "Oh no, everybody goes through that," and I was like, "What? Really?" Like, yeah. So it's a good thing to talk about. Yes, way too much gatekeeping, way too much.
Exactly. And I will say, just to give you guys a little sneak peek behind the scenes, something that we've struggled with is us saying, no, we want to get rid of the gatekeeping, and people not believing us, because the industry is so built on that. So you're here with us, we start from the ground up. We kind of consider ourselves grassroots and different from a lot of the other competitors out there. And we like it that way. It's harder in the beginning, we know that, much like writing a script or writing your first several drafts of a script, but we're fighting for you guys, because we are part of this community.
Lovely. Oh, you're working on a play/movie. That will be interesting. I can't wait to read it. You should submit it. Guys, I love reading scripts. It's one of my favorite things to do. Sometimes when I'm just bored, I will reach out to friends. I'm like, hey, what you working on? Send it to me. Let me read it. Because it makes you a better writer. But also it's just fun to see what other people are thinking and what their process is. If can everybody put in the chat, if you're online, where you're from and just the genre that you're currently working on? Oh, you wrote a musical. Oh my gosh, that's
I don't even
mind-blowing.
know what to say. Yeah.
I can't even properly respond to that.
Yeah.
Magical realism. Oh, I love magical realism.
We love that. Yeah, we were talking about that. Very cool.
I read a lot of that. New York and comedy.
Awesome. That's the script I'm working on right now, is a comedy.
Oh,
cool. Fellow Angelino.
comedy is the one thing I can't write. I'm not funny.
Yes, you are.
UK and poetry. That's what I started writing. That's my first love.
Yeah, poetry, same.
Outside
Okay,
Philly,
so-
sci-fi. Love sci-fi. Wow, you guys are writing so many different types of things, and it's really cool. Yeah, surrounding so many talented people here. I love it. You write your own songs. Oh my god!
Wow, jealous. That's amazing. Very cool.
Drama, yes.
Cool.
Drama, the stuff that makes you cry. Cry and think. Although I don't, in real life, like emotional things, it's the thing that I write the best. And it kind of annoys me.
Figures, right? Yeah.
Yep. Started writing at 15. That is really cool.
Historical creative fiction. That is really
Nice.
awesome. Very cool.
Is this based off of your, like, is the story about your grandmother, or you're just using stories that she told you? If you don't mind me asking. I'm nosy. I'm sorry, guys.
A bit of both. Cool.
Wonderful. That is really cool. Oh, like I said, I'm so glad that all of you guys, prison medical.
Ooh.
We've never seen a prison medical drama before.
I want that on the marketplace. People would love that. That sounds great. Prison medical drama. And you're a correctional nurse, so you would know. That is fascinating. So many questions about that.
Making up your own worlds is wonderful. We love to see that. We as people love to dive into worlds that are unlike our own. And don't worry about having a boring life. I have a boring life too.
I mean, come on. we're getting out of the pandemic here. Yeah, Downey, that's definitely true. And I think that's really important to remember, that just because we're used to something and we might think it's not exciting, it can really offer a lot to other people. Same with your writing, which if you even have the smallest inkling to write, you should definitely write. It's a gift, and not everybody can do it, but if you try and you work at it, I think it's so important, because you can touch so many people's lives, or help them have a catharsis that maybe they couldn't have until they viewed your work. I mean, think about the most profound show or film or piece of art that you've seen, and imagine if that didn't exist. I think it's a noble thing to be a creative person. And we can do a history lesson on that. Back in the day, it used to be considered that. Now it's, oh, you're creative. I'll tell you guys something. I had a meeting with someone this week, and they said, oh, you're an actor. And it was like they were apologizing to me. And I just think that it's important that we honor ourselves, honor our work. What you have to offer is special. And again, we're here with you. We're trying to reframe the way that people, look at Hollywood, the way they look at screenwriting or even playwriting or any kind of art. It's valuable, and it's necessary, and it's just such an important part of our overall well-being as humans. So keep rocking, sharing your story.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we have come to the end of the webinar. I want to respect everyone's time. So if you haven't joined the Discord or followed us on social media, please do. Facebook, WO Accelerator, Instagram @_WO Accelerator _, and then our Discord was put in the chat as well. I look forward to speaking to you guys more. I look forward to you guys submitting to the marketplace and reading your scripts. So we can get you guys on the path to being seen by producers. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.